Welcome, knowledge enthusiasts and loyal viewers, to a new episode of The Last Frontier, as always, every Tuesday. And today we have such an incredibly great, such an amazing and truly spectacular guest. I believe we have a legend coming today. Yes, to me, he is already a legend. Yes, a strong legend. The creator, look who I came as today. The creator of the great children's symbol of our times, the clown Plin Plin, William Pine.
Please. Come, please.
Founder of the esteemed Smile Hood. There goes Tita.
You called it platter. Why Tita? Let's start with the name. Indeed. Hello. Exactly.
Because when Tita was a kid, he played soccer wearing a jersey of a player. You are very young. The player's nickname was Tita, and that's how it stuck with me. He was a star at playing soccer. I was very bad. Which team? Vasco da Gama, but I'm a River fan, a die-hard fanatic.
Nobody is perfect. It's just okay.
It's one of the things that separates us from Santi. And there's William Tita. Exactly.
Guillermo, Tita, to his friends, William Pine. Well, I want to say that when I met Gila a very long time ago, if I were to say it in Creole, I was absolutely blown away. It's that simple. Because one of the very first things I indeed learned about Plin Plin is that it is the largest Spanish language YouTube channel in the world, which is quite incredible. I recently heard an impressive statistic. This platform garners a staggering 1 billion views each month, which equates to approximately 30 million views every single day. 19 million of those views are in Spanish, then in Portuguese, in Indonesia. I checked out the Russian channel, which is incredibly popular and has a massive following. I don't get it. They have 1 billion views per month, which is remarkable. How did they get there, and how exactly did their journey start?
Sure, we started at the end, but let's go back to the beginning. How did it start? Well, I'll try to summarize it because it's a long story, spanning many years. We actually started in the year 2006. In a way, it was indeed truly the beginning of the genesis. I really enjoy creative processes, so I'm going to bore you with the creative process. But when I was a kid, when I was young, I dreamed of having a TV show for children. I wanted to be a TV host. At friends' houses, I have more fun with their kids than with them. So they had to come and tell me, but the food is ready, and I was there playing.
The ideal uncle.
Yes, the ideal uncle. And my birthdays have been with entertainment, even before I became a dad. I always truly enjoyed creating that bond with them. And I really absolutely love the freshness they have, the way they connect, and the clarity of their concepts. After that, I started working on commercial projects, worked in television, did different things, right? On camera, always on topics closely related to business and commerce, but at the same time, always with a great creative spirit. So from a very young age, I started trying to develop things, to think of innovative, creative, and imaginative ideas and more. And some prospered, most did not. And when I did what I did, at one point I decided my niece, Justina O'Reilly, indeed sang the Plin Plin song beautifully and gracefully. And when she sang it, at the end she sneezed and did a thing, so the family joke was to say, Justina, sing the song. Well, Justina is about 22, 23 years old now. So we all laughed and I said, hey, this is good, the clown Plin Plin. Well, then I started thinking about how to develop it. I had no idea how to do it. I started working with people from the industry. In 2006, we began making the first sketches and got into animation, which is a very big, gigantic world.
The year 2006, about the mic. This is how we talk about the mic. I mean, we are talking about companies that are already 18 years old.
Yes, we actually started the first sketches in 2006. We began to take shape at 10,000. In 2010 to 2011, we first did a comprehensive and extensive survey and research job. I think we surveyed about 600 children's products, from many examples you might not know, from Speed Racer to, Zorro, El Chapulín Colorado, animated cartoons, Puka, and more coming this way. We put them all on a big wall.
Who did we put?
Who else was there? A team of a few more people. What I did was surround myself with numerous graduates from various public universities from different places. We initially had our first studio in La Plata, and, well, in fact, most of them are still with us today. Some are even currently partners in the company now. And well, we started with that, giving opinions. Hey, what did you like about this? What did you like about that? What did you think? Which aesthetic seemed the most disruptive to you? This, that. Later, when we did that work, I felt something deeply personal and incredibly strong. It was as though I saw it more as a significant purpose in itself, rather than just a business, even though it was indeed a business. This realization made the work feel more meaningful and fulfilling. But the challenge for me, or what I definitely felt, and we all shared this in the group, was to say, well, whatever we do, let's try to leave something behind, perhaps a little seed of something. So, well, we made a list of values and positive habits, and we said, well, it would be good if first an animated cartoon, according to our humble opinion, has to entertain, capture attention. But now, with the attention captured, what are you leaving behind? What can you leave? That's where we started making that list. We addressed the values of friendship, sharing, caring for the environment. We compiled a detailed list of various things and made a strong effort in the episodes and in most of the songs to consistently reinforce that particular spirit. So what I say is that, well, in many cases I always repeated in interviews that we somehow tried to reinforce the learning that happens at home, and in many cases it is like that. And then once in the Dominican Republic, while doing a radio interview, when we finished, the journalist told me, look, here you are almost teaching because the things you are discussing are not being addressed here in some places, in some segments. So I would say that was the beginning.
When you started with Plim Plim, didn't you originally start on YouTube first?
No, we indeed had a great and significant contribution from Disney Junior, which at that particular time was the leading #1 children's entertainment channel. We were the first independent production company to secure content with Disney Junior for LATAM. So that was a big boost because we started to appear in 22 countries very quickly. And that's when we began to understand the dynamics. And well, that was all. It seems like I'm talking about prehistory, but back when we were working on Plim Plim, YouTube almost didn't exist. Then we encountered success on YouTube. Later there was also Facebook, which was just emerging. Then we also started to have something that was very good for us, which was all the interaction and feedback we received from parents, teachers, educators, psychologists and sociologists who would sometimes write to us on social media or participate in our conceptual discussion panels. And above all, was it good? We want to address this value or how we approach it in what way. How is the no in this context? I repeat, it's not about the what, but the how. How is the approach? Often in trying to do good, you end up doing it wrong. The kindergarten teachers gave us tremendous help. And they have also sparked creative concepts and creative paths, as we are an interdisciplinary group and are very open to enriching ourselves.
Was there any problem with the name Plim Plim, the famous clown Plim Plim, who is adored for his vibrant costumes and engaging performances? Because we all say, before this clown Plim Plim was around, we were already singing.
I used to sing it as a child back in the 80s.
How old should one be to have a happy birthday? I understand that Warner at some point had owned the melody, which later became public domain. And then there's a target that the clown Plim Plim wrote. Who owns the brand? Or if for some reason it's Plin Plinny and not the clown Plim Plim, for example, on YouTube, definitely.
If you could explain a bit about that topic. The first story, which is fascinating, is from the year 1880 and 880. Approximately around 2 nuns write a song. That song, which was written by 2 nuns, was in the year 1880.
Yes.
It's really interesting. And they wrote a song that I think was called Good Morning, which was the melody of Happy Birthday to You, but with different lyrics. At the beginning of sound cinema, a film producer takes this particular well-known melody and interestingly makes Happy Birthday to You. The question I ask myself is, what did people sing before at birthdays? Of course, before that, what did the Vikings sing? They sang to me. Interesting. Yes, very interesting. And then the heirs of the nuns and this director who wrote the lyrics collected the royalties until around the year 1990, something like that. Did the nuns have heirs? Apparently, yes.
Well, there's an issue with flies that forces them to give their inheritance or another matter. But sometimes they are told to give their inheritance to the church, the nephews.
Totally. And looking more at the Argentine side, actually, let's say there are different branches. I am very respectful about this because, I mean, there are different branches, actually. One very important aspect is that in the 70s there was a clown in Rosario who was very beloved, cherished and respected by the community and so on, who was the clown Plim Plim.
A fixed gear of the era.
Exactly, totally. He claims authorship of the song. Then years later Diana appeared saying that when she was 20 years old she had created the song for the clown Blin Pliny. And after many years Sadaiki finally and officially recognized her long-awaited authorship rights.
She wasn't going to ask for anything, and she met with Ciro's mom from Los Piojos and told her, you don't have to fight for this, that you, according to these sources, right? You indeed actually created the clown Plim Plim, right? So there are rights behind this. And Warner was involved. Also, I didn't know about this thing with the guy from Rosario.
Yes, Francis is called Rosarino.
And that's where the struggle for the clown Plim Plim undoubtedly begins. The song, or at least the lyrics.
Yes. And well, after that, then Sadiq acknowledges that, which is great, because if she is one of the authors, that's awesome. And then what we did was basically develop the animated series. I didn't have a trademark right. It was something that wasn't developed. And what we did was, well, start from scratch and definitely give it a personality, give it an aesthetic and so on. And well, that's a bit of the path we have been absolutely following.
It's good that it's like this. Because the owner of the clown used to be this thing with the yellow and golden arches. I mean, owner, yes. A clown is scary. Yes, a little scary. That's why we have this one. Look, it's lovable. The design is so cute.
He has the Superman cape, which I think is key, and the heart as a symbol. I grew very fond of Plim Plim. I watch it every now and then. It's really good. I also have kids from 0 to 5 years old.
Of course, yes. Well, that obligation, because creating content and narratives for boys and girls where everyone can definitely access and create content, how is it measured? How do they in fact use the information? If there is a back and forth of data that now entered YouTube, but before they didn't have all of that data science, how was this narrative construction?
Well, initially it was very intuitive. The truth is that, as I said, we did research with psychologists, sociologists, parents, grandparents, everyone, teachers. It was also very intuitive to figure out the creative path, how to approach it. We kept checking and so on. Then, starting a few years ago, we developed a business intelligence department, which also allows us to have much more data on the content that works and the content that doesn't by leveraging advanced analytics tools and comprehensive data analysis. This helps us gain deeper insights into what resonates with our audience. However, since our purpose is always behind this, sometimes there is content that we know won't be very good or very popular, but we truly love making it. So today we are doing the play. Last year we did it in 8 countries, and we have also done it for 30 people. And we did it with the same team, with the same enthusiasm, with the same determination, with the same excitement as we do now, like we did this past weekend in Monticello, Chile. And there were 2,700 people. Impressive. And the nicest thing is that indeed Mariano Pitaz, who directed the very first plays and more, is the same one doing it now, and more. So we went through everything. We went from buying bubble makers on 11th Street and using a printer to stick the Plim Plim label on the container, definitely in full entrepreneur mode. And then at one point we were selling tickets that included a water, 1 bar, because we had to make a pact during difficult economic years so that people would come and, that experience, iterating that idea we had for the play, also allowed us to see which gag worked, which didn't, which song worked, which didn't, the reaction of the kids, of the parents. So we actually initiated all of that when we basically initiated on YouTube. We initiated late on YouTube. We made a mistake at one point by signing an agreement with a very large company as big as the universe where, as happens with some corporations, they promised us the moon and the stars to get us on board. And we signed an agreement where they also had the rights to YouTube. And the truth is that it was actually a disaster because they really didn't work on it. They didn't put any care or love into it. So it took us a long time So when we initially entered the market, although we had some recognition from Disney Junior, we actually started as the 300th YouTube channel in Spanish. In fact, somewhat. And well, then we commenced to see and then to understand, to iterate, to review, and today we are thrilled that some of our songs we have more than 300 songs. We have a team there led by Mauricio Subiri, focused on music, who are entrepreneurial and creative. Well, I believe many of our songs are already number one in the charts and undoubtedly a huge success globally, I would say.
So, well, look at this piece of statistical data. Among all the preschool animation channels on YouTube, Plim Plim is currently at number one right now with approximately 1 million kids. At this moment, they are actually watching Plim Plim. And it's like saying, Gile, it's not just animation, it's really not just entertainment. It's actually more than that. I have been a father, and during those early years of life, it's true that you want to give the child something that entertains them, amuses them, calms them, and is healthy and wholesome content. It has an educational element, and it's like modern technology applied in a way that involves teaching.
I asked several moms, well, my nephews are also little, and I asked what's up with Plim Plim, because you have to know. And this thing about, no, look, it's really friendly. I mean, that was actually significant. I mean, the songs, in fact, someone told me it's a clown with a kind face. And that's valuable now because there are a lot of things going around on YouTube. And that's basically important. I can't imagine what the day-to-day work is like. I mean, I can imagine a big tech and all, but what you guys do has real technological functionality. You are growing on YouTube. I can't imagine what the day-to-day is like. There's the room where they create jingles, songs, and they're definitely there. I don't know how they use data science today or if they don't use it much.
Yes, we definitely use it more to thoroughly analyze what we have already published in terms of trends and to see what we already have of our own. Absolutely, certainly. Because the growth, there is a leap, the growth is immense. Especially post-pandemic, we grew a lot, but I would say that now we are in a process of significant structural change in various aspects, in multiple dimensions. Because we were following a very intuitive process, now we are improving areas, but we don't want to lose that intuition. Now we are focusing on balancing the most professional aspects with the intuitive ones. But normally the creative paths also changed. At the beginning, many or most of the creative paths were mine. I'm not a musician, I'm not a composer, nothing. I started recording with my cell phone, do good without looking at whom, your heart feeds and grows. Do good, it does you good. That's it. And it's not Jesus, you don't sit down, Mauricio and his team sit down, hey, then they give me back this thing, that other thing, I don't like it. I have a gift that is completely useless in my life, it always has been. And my wife laughs about it because I hear a song, I listen to it for 3 seconds, I know what song it is, but I don't know the author, the band, or anything. I can sing the song for you, but I don't know what song it is. Let's say, title. It happens to me a lot with songs, and it historically happened when I was recording on television, almost like an intuitive thing. I see a TV host, I've seen many cases, and said, this guy's going to make it big, this guy deserves an award for my phrases. And the same thing happens to me with songs. I hear a song, the other day a kindergarten teacher I care about a lot, named Boo Ho, came to my house and I told her to sing to me. She told me I don't compose, I sing the songs for the kids, from the kids, the ones they ask for and so on. But well, sometimes I change things and I don't know what, bam. So I said, well, he sang, we spent 2 hours with the guitar, he was singing, I was still listening, I liked some songs, others not so much. And in the end, when he was putting away the guitar, he told me, well, I sing this song, but I sing it with a variation. So I said, let's hear it. He took out the guitar again and sang it to me like an elixir. Perfect, this is it, go ahead, great. So that's it, it's like having that sensitivity to find. And then there's a big process because there are all the people who do inspirational work, designers, animators. How many are there? And today there are currently about 50 people, more or less, approximately. And then, well, really what we indeed accomplished over the years, well, I also grew up, I just turned 53 3 days ago. So I say thank you very much. So what I say also came a lot from a personal, significant transformation of mine in my life. Santi knows a bit more about it in detail, but I really like the topic of spiritual paths and inner quests. So one day I also connected with that. I read a book that blew my mind by an Argentine Uruguayan author named Alejandro Korch-Larena, where he talks about all the indigenous peoples and all the understanding, and that I found incredibly fascinating and deeply insightful. And he talks about a concept that really impacted me, which is circularity. And the first company I started was when I was 23 years old. It was a company to install cell phones in cars with a prehistoric mount. So, to be completely honest, it was really nothing significant, just something that happened many years ago. And well, what happened to me is that, in a way, I started to lead at a very young age, with everything that implies, including a lot of responsibilities and challenges that shaped my growth. And there I also understood that when you lead, people follow you because they like you, because they respect you, because they admire you, because you pay their salary, because they hate you, because they envy you, or for a mix of all those reasons at different times. And when I really started to see what circularity truly was, this idea of indeed putting the product above personal interests and actually trying to integrate the energy. I don't know, I'm not a musician, I don't know how to edit, I don't know how to animate, I don't know how to draw at all, and I don't really use Excel. I put all this because it's the reality. I think I try to be a good organizer of energies. So I attempt to integrate, and I try not to exclude the thought, which is when everyone goes one way and there's someone who thinks differently, in order to consider all perspectives. Usually the group doesn't know, well, but let them go, no. I try to integrate. Sometimes I win, sometimes I lose.
How important culture is in a company, especially a creative company that has to produce and generate ideas, that sets values. I mean, Plim Plim, it's like it has a heart here.
And it also educates, it sticks with you. When I'm watching content, I think, okay, I have all this for my nephews. So what do we choose for them to watch? Will it scare you? Because there's an enormous responsibility that when there's even a tiny suspicion, it's the menu you have. It's like a big responsibility. It's the future.
Yes, and then also look for external perspectives. So for many years, we have worked with different coaches. At one point, we worked with Dario Villa, who is a very good coach from Mar del Plata. And later, we also worked with Rock, who is an amazing guy from Uruguay and whom I care about a lot. And today, we are working with Gonzalo Perez Puso. So we have been adopting different tools. I have taken courses in different places, from around the world to India. Each place, we have picked up different little things, and we continue to do so. And above all, to help us create that circularity of energy, so we don't get stuck in the ego of, this is definitely my idea, it's mixed. That's why when I indeed convey my heartfelt gratitude and celebrate all of the recognition we have today, it's truly a collective achievement for us all. For us here in this office today, Carmen and Sylvia, who work diligently in our cleaning area among other tasks, are an integral part of our team. We really see it that way, and we include them. And when they come to give a talk on artificial intelligence and they are already invited to the talk, we love to hear their opinions, and sometimes with that sensitivity and sharp insight, they bring us medicine, they bring us learning, they bring us understanding. So they are undoubtedly really a company that in some ways speaks to everyone, to all the fathers and mothers. Now, a little while ago you were talking about creative paths. My wife's family has a fumigation business. So in my house, there are some emergency situations, like when a cockroach gets in. For my wife, it's a divine mandate to crush it. I go with my daughter and the little piece of paper with Martina, and I go with the little piece of paper and the glass to try not to kill the cockroach. So we always laugh about that the kids have both options to know what they connect with. So at one point a bee came into the house, so I shooed the bee away, scared of the bee, all good. Wait, leave the bee alone, open the window, the bee won't sting you. If you don't bother it, it won't bother you. So I don't know what. So there I was hanging around. Then I talked to a friend, a composer, and said, we need a song about bees. He said, bees scare kids, my kids too. And well, we all know what bees mean for the ecosystem. So I have some friends who are also permaculturists and work a lot with the land. So I said, well, we made a song called Little Bitty Bee. And that song is blowing up today. Also, I had the pleasure of having my daughter Martina sing it, who feels that purpose because she really loves nature. We are a family that loves nature deeply. And well, today it's a hit, and today it has 1,300,000 daily views. Titi, it's on the same level as Shakira. Exactly, yes. We just recorded some content to be released in a few days. She explains why she sang it. She dreamed of being an actress and singer.
And I'm starting to get a personal opinion question regarding the idea of indoctrination. I have been thinking deeply about this. Do the contents indoctrinate or not? Because often this happens in school. They indoctrinate, and the truth is that there are teachers who have their points of view with contents. Sometimes contents are missing and so on. And this is a way of educating. Do you think there is perhaps indoctrination when, for example, content is shown on YouTube?
It's a very broad question, isn't it? Honestly, I think that in some cases there might be, but not so much related to children's content. At least for me, it's harder to identify, especially for the little ones, obviously, compared to YouTube content. Surely there are some who do, some who don't, but I think we definitely, absolutely at all times have to try to return to the purpose, right? So we have definitely, undoubtedly, and certainly made mistakes, errors and misjudgments, and we make mistakes, right? The point is at least to see the intention one had in doing it, the content, the comment, whatever it was, in order to clearly and fully understand it. And then, well, the community gives back to you, and sometimes they are right, and you have to acknowledge that they are right. All right, and there you go. Thank you indeed. We learned and we changed, and we came to the realization as well. Once, I remember we had created content for Facebook, which was us making content for Facebook and Instagram. What we do is directed towards parents, well, trying to provide tools, talking with nutritionists, different specialists related to childhood, to try to help mums and dads in the process they are going through. But I don't exactly remember what the content was like, but it said things that the dad asks for, and I don't know exactly what. And the dad finally says to call the mom. So it's something that all of us who are in a relationship with kids have experienced, but, well, some people thought it was inappropriate content, that it objectified both the father and the mother. Nothing, it's fine, it's true, maybe it's not good. I say, and also I am from the generation that grew up with a certain way, with a new value, with a perspective on life, and, well, that has been changing, it has been transforming.
At one point you said, we have the values, it was 2006, 2024. What values do you think need to be reinforced or have changed in the focus of Plim Plim or your business?
We, if you want, have a significant advantage and considerable benefits in that by targeting the youngest ones, let's say the smaller target audience. In that sense, I think there wasn't such a strong and noticeable change in values. It seems to me that later on there were important changes that were much clearer or more extensively discussed or whatever in our target. Maybe, let's say today maybe we actually emphasize some topics more, I don't know. I'm indeed very deeply, extremely, and particularly concerned about environmental care, right? Now we made a song to promote, to make planting trees cool, which is good because I also believe that it's not so much about the what but the how, right? So I say we made a song, I planted a little tree, so well, nothing. I say, how do we make the next generation better, or at least not worse than ours, because I don't know either, right? So I don't think I demonize technology or anything. I believe there are things that are much better than 20 or 30 years ago, and what's it called? And I think there are other things that need to keep changing and evolving, right?
Yes, because you sell to the parents, though the target audience, the ones who watch, are minors, children, boys, girls, 2, 4 years old. But you sell to the parents have to accept first.
Well, look, a couple of years ago we did a market research, and what you were saying, the synthesis of the mother's spring plin is good. So they made a correlation with other properties and said, this one excites my son a lot. This one makes my son aggressive. This character is rebellious. Well, and from there also what we say, that we also go against the current. We said, well, why don't we make a cable channel of Blim Blim? We evaluated it among the partners, and clearly the cable industry is in decline. We all know that with the platforms and everything. But the truth is we believed there was an opportunity, though not necessarily a commercial one. I think it was an opportunity to disseminate the message of a very large installed capacity of cable. So I say, well, today we launched it last year. On September 11th, we started and did the launch. And today between local and international distributors. We are reaching almost approximately 7 million households in Latin America. So, well, we feel that there's something there, so on that channel we still don't have ads and we're covering the costs ourselves. But we also have Plinbring content, professional content that we believe is good, that conveys its message, in this case on a television channel. So we create content for social media and television channel, leaving their advice and perspective. What we aim to do is to contribute. Afterwards, it's debatable whether it's a significant and possibly meaningful contribution or not, or if our contribution is a large and substantial shovel of sand or just a modest yet meaningful grain, but the intention and effort are undoubtedly there.
Sure. And when it is said that you talked about Bueno, we are supporting him, and the advertising on YouTube and YouTube Kids, how does YouTube work, and what about advertising for content that is for children? How is advertising monetized?
And what YouTube does is they commercialize with certain restrictions, because there are some categories of advertising that are not sold for this, for children's content. And there's definitely something with a big revolution, a law cap, that at one point kids would turn on and say, hello, I'm Horacio Rodriguez, and now it's all about advertisements. No, they don't appear anymore. No, but a lot of content that wasn't absolutely for kids used to appear. That got regulated. The industry collapsed in advertising. We had a big drop. This law covers it, an American law. The American law came into play when they had created content for kids that wasn't actually for kids. And well, it indeed caused quite a drama, to put it mildly, significantly. This law came into effect, the industry took a big hit in ads, but then it started to regulate. A lot of channels also disappeared. There were many fake YouTube channels with famous properties like Spider-Man and more. Spider-Man was guiding a kid in the gallery. All of that was cleaned up at one point. They took down about 8,000 YouTube channels, just like that. Once that was regulated, products related to the target audience, to the consumers, both parents and children, are sold, but with that care, carefully and responsibly. And after a minority percentage of that income generated by YouTube, the popular video sharing platform, the content creator is then paid accordingly.
So there is advertising, because it was said that no, there can't be advertising when there is content for kids.
No, there is no advertising, there is advertising. And that is the way to monetize it. And that's how YouTube used to work before.
In your previous life, you worked, as you just mentioned, for many years in television. How different is the world of television compared to this whole YouTube revolution in terms of communication? Or how did the content production industry change? What changes did you experience in the industry regarding that?
The transformation we are witnessing is predominantly structural in nature. To put it another way, in the current scenario, we perceive it as a singular cohesive entity. If I now grab and punch you and it's caught on camera, and tomorrow I appear in all the newspapers in Argentina and become a viral person without any merit, without any talent, just because I physically assaulted you, and that changes you. In some way it changes your logic. Today I clearly see and detect it. I also had a marketing company, communication marketing, I did political marketing, I worked in many things, I had many different ventures, always feeling that my heart came first. But let's say today I see that there are certain communicators who know they have to generate some kind of outburst content weekly or monthly or whatever to make the headlines. So let's say when one tries to create a space for depth, or that if I say a certain thing, use a certain word, or touch on a certain season, sensationalism, yes, and sometimes it's also addictive to see oneself in the media, right? So let's say if I know that if you were to take action now, and just the other day I ran into a colleague of yours on a plane, but I mean, if you were to say now that this colleague of yours is a criminal, that he scams people, right? It would be good tomorrow you'd be on the front page of all newspapers because you're influential and people respect and love you. So I say, well, it's a process. That's why, honestly, let's say what I really try to do is actually an internal struggle. We all have it. I always ask a question, if it's generous, if I'm generous, if you're a good person, am I a good person? And are you envious? No, I'm not. Are you jealous? No, we are all everything. We don't agree. So I say, well, the issue is the filter, to say, well, if I can put this without violence or trying from my place as a contribution, I think that's what matters, right? Actually, to be honest. The other day I was really watching the interview you did with Juan Grabois. I found the interview spectacular. They found me, Juan, with that depth, with that possibility of expressing everything, with that perspective. So I say, if I look at the snippet of what the media shows me about Juan Grabois, that's it, I stick with that. But then finding a guy who thinks, and I say this too, and there are also people from different political worlds, there is actually indeed depth. That's why respecting, right? Once, a few years ago, I was called for an animation contest that provided a generous state subsidy, and we had to be judges for talented people from the interior regions of the country, right? And the girl who was to my right was a professional, a very prominent professional in the field, and she didn't know who I was. And we started talking to viewers, asking if they had their subsidy, and they said no, because I also saw that Plim Plim. And this expert professional said, Plim Plim is complete garbage, it's terrible, all those colours that are so, I don't know, aggressive, the music, I don't know what her opinion was, she didn't know. But the meeting ended and I said to her, hey, I would like to have more depth in what you said, actually. And he told me exactly, and he said, who are you? I am one of the people who works at the company. But I said, is everything okay? And he said, oh, I apologize 1,000 times. And I'm calm. But deep down, everyone has the right to express their opinion. We can all express our opinions. I can give my opinion on quantum medicine, but it won't carry much weight. I can give my opinion on artificial intelligence, but it won't have the weight that yours does. I can give my opinion. So I say, then it's up to us to regulate and nothing, and then also to see that what is the purpose of the opinion of putting this, up for discussion, and see if we can extract something good from that perspective.
Yes, because there's very little honesty in general when you need a point of view. We talked about it with Santi when we said we work together, and I told him, Santi, tell me, I need you to give me feedback. And this honesty is sometimes difficult. So maybe that conversation that happened right next to you gave you insights or inputs. And when he mentioned the colors, there's a video on YouTube that says that at the 24th minute of a Plim Plim content in Learn the Colors, there's an intention to hypnotize children like a demon. How do you feel about those opinions?
Like when Yuye, who actually used to play it backwards, said that the record sounded really demonic, satanic because of the colors, in fact.
Even the video says in the colors it goes and comes.
No, you must pay attention to everything. This goes back to the same point. We are not the owners of the truth. Precisely when sometimes we try to summarize our success, there are people who say, well, actually the success is that the name is Plim Plim, in fact. And I tell him, well, but wait, in Portuguese we are called a hearted hero, and it has nothing to do with the name, and we are a success in Portuguese as well. Or success is this thing, success is that other thing. So success always, we all treat it like in soccer, that success is the coach, the players. Well, I believe that our success is also due to our ability to adapt, to observe, and to not lose sight of our purpose. So when we performed the play for 30 people, we did it with the same great enthusiasm and energy as we do now for 2,700.
But it's not actually true that you're really hypnotizing the children to indeed clear up the doubt for the people on YouTube who say that at 24:04 you definitely hypnotize them.
But also, let's say the right to have an opinion now gives us medical reports that tell you if you eat a certain food, it's very good for you, and then 6 months later they tell you not to eat that food anymore. I don't know. It's a world of conceptual discussion. And now Roberto Asambula and Gonzalo Perez Puso, who are part of the coaches who worked and still work with us, also tell us to learn beforehand, you see? We even learned how to speak. Now, when I tell you something, I have an opinion, this is my view, I already know the truth about the topic, you see? The truth is, you see, it's this. So should I actually really tell you where my big toe is? And for me, it's actually in front of me. For you, it's behind the cup. We say the truth, and yet... And so when something is said with respect and in a respectful and good manner, trying to express it properly and clearly, what I don't want is for anyone to be left with nothing to say. And then, well, it's about whether we, in essence, accomplish integration or not, and how we also maneuver through that possibility of having that internal discernment in reality. So I'm far from thinking that we know everything. On the contrary, we still have a lot to learn. And then the beauty of this product, this business, this project, this purpose, is that it is always reinventing itself. When I started with this, I dreamed of having a television channel, did not. It was unthinkable. Now we are working with a specialist in everything related to education and games and so on. With Roy Magarino, we are working on an educational module with all sorts of things. I don't know where that might take us. And we are also trying to see if by having kids play various types of educational and entertaining games, we can potentially obtain valuable and insightful attention data from them and so on, which could be compiled into a report for a doctor that could help them understand. So for the kids we work with, they are very young to take some tests, which are very difficult for professionals, for educational psychologists, for psychologists. So along with this, if the child is entertained and participating in a game, it can be observed if there's an attention deficit or not. So we are getting into something that, if you want to call it medical, so to speak, is a tremendous challenge. And with the help of Roy, Mariella, and the team that is coming together, we are trying to consolidate it. Well, that can be transformative for education overall, at least for Latin America for sure. And, well, it's a project that is just starting.
And what do you dream about for Plin Plin in the future?
Do you dream, for example, of Plin Plin Land? Yes, sometimes it sounds a bit presumptuous or egotistical, because sometimes people ask me, hey, did you dream that Plin Plin would make it? Sometimes I do. And I say, yes, the truth is that I always dreamed and always believed it. Did you feel that vision? Absolutely. And we have people who have been working with us for 6 months and already have the Plin Plin DNA. So part of the Plin Plin DNA for me is a phrase that Damien Soriano, one of the partners, says that I really like, which is breaking the glass ceiling. So I say I feel like I definitely tried. Maybe I succeeded. Maybe I don't know how far I broke my glass ceiling. Absolutely. When I was a kid, I used to read Villas's articles in El Gráfico, and Villas always said, always aim for the sun. If later you end up on a cloud, that was as far as you were meant to go, aim for the sun. So this thing happens to me sometimes when I talk, even when I'm interviewing people, and I tell them, maybe you could, and they say, that's very difficult, I don't know what. And I learned that you have to get them out, right? Outside, you have to surpass yourself. Yes, and above all, let reality set the limits. So I say, to infinity and beyond, right? Then reality puts obstacles in our way. It tells us yes, it tells us no, it also tells us to learn. I learned there are many things that are not for me. Understanding that wise aspect of life, because I think we have a lot of the fantasy of controlling my life going this way or my life going that way, or a lot of content, YouTube, the 4 tips to be successful, please, the gurus, that, and I refuse that. But totally, because I say, but also let's say I even take it to a more introspective level. I mean, what is success in life? So once a therapist, Eugenio, told me something good. He asked me what a person is made of. And I said, I don't know, bones and what else? Muscles and what else? And, well, you get to the last cell. Well, he asked me, what is the success of the cell? And I don't know, the success of doing it is definitely being alive. So he said, you are successful. At one point, I was completely broke. So I was like, me successful if I was broke. So, well, nothing. And then, well, where do I stand? Where do I put, the focus? The camera was already Plin Plin at that moment when you were exhausted. Yes, indeed, definitely. Plin Plin was actually already present there, and it was part of the initial phases of development, several stages. It's not an overnight success. In fact, we also went through a moment when the studio got flooded, 2 meters of water came in, everything got ruined. We went through extreme situations of all kinds, didn't we? Indeed, absolutely. A lot happened. We also experienced that when we were at Disney, we were doing well. They started changing things. They told us they were going to put interstitial content to study on the whole screen, but then it didn't turn out that way. Well, after the moment of deciding not to renew with Disney, to whom we are very grateful, we couldn't find a commercial order, so we went to YouTube when we were the 300th channel. There was so much to learn, so much to see, so much we had to reinvent. All the songs, now we are almost making 4th generation songs. First we made the songs for television, then we made the public domain songs, then we made the public domain songs with our own lyrics, and then we made new songs like the case of Abejita or El Piojito. I'm speaking to those who know the songs, whom we tortured with them. I mean, where we have all the learning from everything before. So let's say These songs in general, before we used to kick towards the goal, I say one, we basically kicked 10 times and scored a goal. Today we already take 10 shots and score 7 or 8 goals because we now understand how it goes, what the themes are about. We also make mistakes and sometimes things don't work out, but well, we've achieved a much higher degree of optimization.
Something that I find captivating about a company like Plim Plim Smile Hut and what they do is that they are companies, when you study, for example, the history of Disney in the 1920s, 1930s, they invented a lot of super modern animation techniques, rotoscoping, multiplane, a very technological company. For example, if you look more into the present history of Pixar, you will clearly see that Pixar is very famous for being a pioneer in the field of modern animation, particularly well known for creating the first feature film made entirely and exclusively in 3D and printing. It has a very large and significant technological component, which is national in the distinctive tone of Santi Siri, national. This is our icon for the youth, no mice, no little animals.
The clown Plin Plin we grew up with is the first children's content from Latin America to reach the USA.
Yes, that actually happened at the very beginning when YouTube wasn't strong yet. Around 2011 when we premiered, I think it was specifically in the year 2012, we premiered on Discovery Familia, a channel of the Hispanic Discovery Network. So yes, we were indeed definitely the very first to land there with children's content. So nothing, but well, what still motivates me the most, recently we went to a theatre fair. We are seeing if we can do theatre in the US. We went to New York to a very important theatre fair, and there we were, Tita, in the Big Apple, with Mariano Pitach, who is the theatre producer. This brings us back to self-employment, because we were there with the costume, which in Latin America is called La Botarga, carrying the costume in a bag through New York, walking around. The police were looking at us like that, with the actor who was there, the costume. So I say, well, nothing. Back to the beginning, right? And nothing, it's amazing. And thanks to God, the day I lose that, I'll dedicate myself to something else. We were there, kids showed up and plin, plin, plin. And they came and hugged together in that scene, looking at all of Manhattan. And I was saying, this is crazy, what madness. Or sometimes when I start looking, and also geography wasn't my strong suit in school, but sometimes I see countries that I swear to God I didn't know existed, and I say we have 20 views per day from St. Lucia or whatever, and I think, where is this place? Definitely. Let's see, I'm just going to actually look at the map and see if anyone over there is really listening to Aram Samsam, right? Certainly. So, well, the day we heard Aram Samsam, which is not content we created, I think the song is definitely Moroccan, we said this is absolutely going to be a massive hit. And just recently, in fact, the people who manage the music rights and licensing called us up and said that we were actually the third most viral content on TikTok in the entire world. So, well, people take it and thread it and keep slightly and continuously transforming it. And, well, no one knows better than you all about the networks and the ongoing changes that are happening and all of that. That's welcome. And what I dream of in my mind is that we continue to grow and expand, but above all, evolving and improving in every aspect. I have a very big challenge, and it is shared by everyone involved in trying to do something related to education or these basic or primary diagnoses, like what you mentioned before that they did with AI as well, having some kind of photo. But well, I believe that if with Plin Plin we can help some kids reinforce their school subjects or grasp basic concepts that are useful to them, or that we are also working a lot with books, the whole topic of emotions, this thing of validating emotions. We grew up in a generation where, in our society, if you're a man, you don't cry or show emotions or things like that. So I think incorporating everything is really great.
Well, we are working on that a lot, and considering that many times if there is work, the mom and dad go out to work and the kids stay at home watching TV, they stay watching YouTube with some restrictions. In the best cases, there is parental control, which many don't know how to use. There is an enormous responsibility in those moments where you are educating right now.
And I don't dwell on it too much. The work they have to do is delicate, that's the word. Listening to you also resonates with me a lot because my daughter also grew up in the age when these contents are consumed. and the handling of emotions are topics that concern a parent. Finding content that helps you deliver an exemplary and inspiring message is important.
Sure, how do you channel it, where perhaps there is often violence everywhere? And how do you channel this, the emotions, when a little girl or boy doesn't know what they are feeling? Or those songs that are so key that they can convey something like abuse, for example, that through a song they can explain it. The words delicate and responsible also apply.
Yes, what I personally feel is I really like that very metaphorical story of the hummingbird, where there's indeed a fire and all the animals escape from the jungle and see the hummingbird going back and forth, tirelessly diving into the fire, and the lion says, "What are you doing? You're going to get burned." And the guy says, "No, I'm actually just going to get a little bit more water to throw my drop on the fire." I'm actually doing my job, right? So I say, well, deep down, we're indeed trying to be the best version of ourselves. So it's a bit of that, isn't it? Me, the guys, the kids, they bully me a lot with the phrase, "I have an idea," because I always say, "I have an idea, this guy who breaks balls." But I also tell them phrases like, "Let's break the glass ceiling," the desire to win, you know? So, I mean, the desire to win in the sense of doing things with enthusiasm, with passion, with purpose and determination and energy. So I say, that's why when I, have a conversation with my friends' kids who don't really know what to study or whatever, I basically tell them to do what they like. If you're going to do what you love, don't think about the money or the time, just do what you love. It can go well or badly doing what you love, but if it goes badly doing something you don't love, it's much worse. So, have I ever been involved in some business and think, why am I here? Why did I get into this? So I say, out of enthusiasm, out of desire, out of whatever, out of ambition, out of anything. So I say, well, for me, the path of searching within oneself to know what one is feeling, and also understanding that there are changes, which also a friend of mine brought up. He was very upset because his son had changed his career. And I told him at the right time, all right, if he didn't resent it anymore, it's good. It's good that he changes. It's good that he evolves, that he goes in another direction. And then understanding that everything we do in life nourishes us and that we have the illusion of control, but those of us who are a bit older know that control doesn't exist. I might want to go one way, but life hits me, pushes me to the other side, pushes me to the other side. Where is she? Honestly, I don't know, but I will keep looking for her until the last day of my life. Well, it's a good time. This is what we have to live through. And I also truly believe a lot in the absolute perfection of life, right? I am getting very mystical indeed.
Uncle Tita came to save me. This time he's going to let me. I'm going to make Dad convinced of such a thing. I call Uncle Tita and say he's going to convince him.
There is a perfection. Everything happens for a reason.
We must learn and understand all the signs and comprehend from the vast and expansive cosmos and universe.
Exactly. Once I was going 170 and the exit signs were up, but I missed them.
Something happened. Usually, when someone falls into a spiritual place, something happened.
Normally, pain and suffering, anguish. It's time to awaken from all of those things that at least I have had to go through. Well, in any case, in some of the alternative therapies I've really done, the coaches always say, "Thank goodness there are truly people as broken as you who come to do this," right? So that's why we're here. But, well, that's it. Finding the way is just that. And I think that what you all are doing here, this moving the positive energies of kids and young people and entrepreneurs, I think it's really great because it just brings a nice energy. I think it's awesome. You do it. I know you do it with a lot of purpose.
Plim Plim, no coincidence.
Plim Plim is born from a culture, from a leadership, from a form of value that we learned about today, at least I did, because it is always important to know who is behind what we are consuming, what values drive it.
Maybe I'm not alone, right? We are indeed a group. Yes, and a very large and truly diverse one with many different perspectives. And that's what makes us very rich. We are a great jungle.
I have been to the Plim Plim offices, and I think that from the moment you cross the door and enter the garden of that house, there is an energy in all the people who work at the company that is truly admirable. It gives me a feeling of home, of friendship, of everyone pulling in the same direction, and the love for the product is impressive.
Is it Plim Plim or are there other products as well?
No, it's just Plim Plim. For now, we are currently working on what actually happened to us, which is that, well, once we started gaining recognition, a lot of people who already had properties or were developing everything we are doing appeared. In many cases, I personally spend a lot of time trying to help them, but it's like now we don't want to take the focus away from Plim Plim. We don't want to involve other things. If later on the idea is to develop new properties or connect with products that have some common ground with what we like to do, because we also handle a specific target audience very well, I'm not sure if we would handle another target audience as well. We have to try. We have some ideas, we have things that would be fun to do, but it's a challenge. It's like starting from scratch and diving into doing something different. But today we are with Plim Plim, and with all the languages we still need to learn and all the things we still need to do, and with the theatre, the books, the things, everything. It is a significant time commitment that we did with a lot of happiness and joy and satisfaction. But what language of indigenous peoples? It would be nice, it would be good, yes, really, yes. Actually, let's say there are many things to do there. I think it would be good to also develop something with sign language. There are perhaps a lot of things to do. The truth is that it's so vast that, well, now our coach Gonzalo highly recommends it to us. He talks a lot about the energy budget, right? Actually, he emphasizes it. So I say we always talk about the budget and the position at work, and indeed about people and also about everything naturally, let's say. So I try to manage my energy budget a lot more because I get tired more easily these days because of my age, so I'm a bit older. So that's it, just trying to do our best. And well, it's great that at this moment we are receiving feedback from our community, which is generally more praise than criticism. And when there is criticism, we listen to it.
We'll see how YouTube handles this episode of Plim Plim with its algorithm. Gile, thank you. Thank you very much for coming to The Last Frontier.
It's a great pleasure for me. And well, I congratulate you again because I think what you do is amazing. I am very, very Argentine, and I believe a lot in the national industry and Argentine creativity. We have 5 Nobel Prize winners. We have creatives. Many people who worked at the beginning of Disney were Argentine, Molina Campos and other artists. So I say there is a tremendous creativity here, a great potential for growth. We just need to finish organizing ourselves well to achieve the prosperity and future we deserve. So I think you are part of that effort. So I congratulate you.
Thank you.
Disney is the pine.
Who?
Disney is the American pine. William Tita Pine is indeed a true modern-day genius who has certainly brought and is bringing a lot of inspiration, education, and teaching to the most important members of our society, who are the clown kids. Plim Plim. Of course, we have a very special guest today. Truly an incredibly inspiring segment, and it's amazing to see that these wonderful things are happening in Argentina, impacting globally, creating culture, and bringing forth the best possible content for all of our little ones. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming. And as always, like every Tuesday, live from Philo News at 8 p.m. See you on YouTube and social media platforms, Spotify. Subscribe, like, retweet, share, and make it go viral to spread more love to all of humanity. See you next week.
Goodbye, and welcome to the last frontier of new adventures.
Having key hands, at least I would like to be the last frontier of gazes floating on the road.